Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things giallo here on The King in Giallo. We are continuing our coverage for the only giallo film from Demofilo Fidani. A.A.A. Masseuse Good Looking offers her services, released in July 1972. In this video, I will give you a condensed version of the full-length overview video covering only the cast and crew and the plot of the movie, then I'll transition into the GialliTally. The GialliTally will contain heavy spoilers. Here is A.A.A. Masseuse Good Looking offers her services, overview. A.A.A. Masseuse Good Looking offers her services, also called A.A.A. Massaggiatrice per presenza, offresi, which translates literally as A.A.A. Beautiful Masseuse Available, or Wanted Massage Therapist Good Looking Offered, is an Italian production. The film is directed by Demofilo Fidani, who also co-wrote the film along with Mila Vitelli Valenza. Music is composed by Curi. The cast is comprised of Paola Senatore as Cristina, Simonetta Vitelli as Paola, Renato Rossini, billed as Howard Ross as Oskar, Jerry Colman as Franco, Raffaele Curi as Marco, Carlo Gentili as Santino, Ettore Manni as the police commissioner, Jack Betts, billed as Hunt Powers, as Enrico Graziani, and Franco Ressel as D'Angelo. The plot follows Cristina, a young woman stifled by her strict father and passive mother who decides to leave home and take control of her life. Looking to earn quick money, she places an ad in the Roman classifieds offering her services as a masseuse, a thinly veiled euphemism for something more illicit. Before long, Cristina builds a discreet but lucrative client list and gains a reputation for being one of the most in-demand specialists in the city. But when several of her clients are found murdered, each with their throats slashed, she becomes a person of interest, and the police begin to suspect that Cristina may be hiding more than just her true profession. But I digress. On to the GialliTally. Spoilers ahead for those of you who haven't yet seen the film. You've been warned. My prediction for the movie's GialliTally score. In my unscripted review video, I predicted around 550 to 600 points. Well, let's begin the GialliTally portion of the video, beginning, as always, with the previewing cliches. The repeat offenders are 1 point for actor, 3 for writer, 3 for composer, and 5 for director. Giancarlo Prete was in The Price of Death and The Black Belly of the Tarantula, 2 points. Franco Ressel was in Naked Girl Killed in the Park, Eye in the Labyrinth, The Devil with Seven Faces, Cross Current, Oasis of Fear, Whatever Happened to Baby Toto, Blood and Black Lace, and The Girl Who Knew Too Much, 8 points. Carlo Gentili was in The Night of the Scorpion and Death Walks on High Heels, 2 points. Howard Ross was in Naked Girl Killed in the Park and $5 for an August Moon, 2 points. Mario Valdemarin was in Death on the Four Poster, 1 point. Carla Mancini was in a lot of giallo films, and I decided that because Carla, as well as some others, were professional bit part actors, that I would cap their points off. When we last saw her in All the Colors of the Dark, she racked up 10 points for appearing in 10 movies, and I think I might have actually missed a point when I did that. So here, she would garner about 16 points otherwise, and as I said, I will cap her off. And this is only because these appearances are like minor speaking roles. Essentially, they're extras with like maybe a single line of dialogue. And I'm sorry, but I respect Carla Mancini, but I can't really just keep adding up all these points for making minor appearances in a movie. It's like there's a reason why she can appear in 12 movies a year. It's because she showed up one day to deliver one line of dialogue, whereas these other actors are actually learning lines and doing scene after scene. So henceforth, Carla Mancini is capped off at 10 points. I promise to do a video on her in the future covering all of her contributions to giallo cinema, but moving on. And Coriolano Gori composed for Death Falls Lightly, Yellow, Le Cugine, and Killer Without a Face, 9 points. Cliche points for the title. A.A.A. Masseuse, good looking, offers her services. I'm giving this movie points regardless for its absurdly long title, but here let's just go with title is a declaration, 5 points. First look, 25 points for the Italian director, and 15 points for the movie releasing during the golden age of giallo cinema. And when you look at that, it is plot o'clock. Blink and you'll miss it. We have one of the coldest cold openings in giallo. 5 points. Seriously, if you aren't paying attention to the screen, you will miss the first few lines of dialogue. Exposition dumping, 2 points. This is Cristina, and she's just told her mother that she will be moving out, to her mother's dismay. Her father will find out later. Cristina doesn't want her father to destroy her the way he destroyed her mother. Her mother understands her decision, and the two depart on good terms. Cristina takes a keepsake. Z is for Zoom, 5 points. We receive our opening credits, which I will stop and point out that the movie does something different and actually introduces the cast and their characters. The last time I saw something even close to this was in The Bloodstained Butterfly. We also see the characters in moments which we won't see occurring in the film.
No! No! Sono incensurato!
Y is for yelling, 5 points. Animals featured, racehorses, 2 points. Paola, the friend Cristina is staying with, invites her in. Art featured, 5 points. We learn that her father still doesn't know, and that Cristina has a boyfriend, but that she cannot wait for him to graduate and begin earning in his career, because without money, in this world you are a nobody. Cristina relays her plan to work in public relations, noting how she already put an ad out in the newspaper. Cristina's father comes home and complains. He appears to work in the papers, so let's add R is for reporter, 5 points. The phone rings. T is for telephone, 5 points. Cristina informs her mother of how smoothly her transition out of the house is going. Cut over to this beefcake. This is stuntman and occasional actor Armando Boltin. The doorbell rings, and he lets in Cristina. This is her first client. He invites her to get changed while he finishes up his sets. Back with the parents, the father is told the news. He is disappointed considering all of the concessions he has made for his daughter over the years. Her decision for independence baffles him. Back with the client, Cristina comes out ready. N is for nudity, 5 points. The man is stunned. Just then, in walks his mother. He informs her that the massage therapist for her sciatica is here. LOL. Cristina's father already knows exactly what his daughter will be doing in the city to make money, and he is not happy. He demands that she return home and goes to call up the police, but his wife warns him that a scandal could destroy his career, and he yields. He looks disheveled as all hell. Cut over to Cristina with a new client. Necking, 5 points. E is for eyeballs, 5 points. Aardvarking, 10 points. We cut away to watch this man at the horse races. Nothing happens though, so let's cut back to Cristina. The two finish up, but the client begins critiquing, saying it wasn't that good. He tells her that she needs to work on her branding. At a zoo now, Cristina meets a man, Oskar. F is for fashion, 5 points. Oskar tells Cristina that he can tell from her telephone number in the paper that she is new, and he offers to put her in touch with well-paying clients. He says hundreds of businessmen enter the city every day, and when they are delayed and must remain in the city for a few days, they get lonely, and they will pay handsomely. He can act as Cristina's point of contact with these clients. She agrees to do business with Oskar, and they will split the earnings 50-50. She leaves to await his call for her first high-paying client. Cristina meets with her boyfriend, Marco, who doesn't understand why she seems ungrateful towards her parents. He tells her about his plans to go to Mexico after graduating, but the money will be tight for a while. In the car, it is revealed that Cristina has been with other men, despite her boyfriend only being with her. Paola is getting it on with her boyfriend, Franco, when Cristina walks in. Franco immediately begins ogling Cristina, and once alone, he tries to put the moves on her, assuming that because she does sex work, that she must be easy and on the menu. Typical 1970s Italian misogyny, woman is, I'm just gonna say pod. 7 points. Paola comes back and jokes about how Franco must have been rejected by Cristina. That says a lot about their relationship, that she knows that he's a sleazeball and doesn't seem bothered by it. At least not right now. She tells Cristina that a man called and left a number for her. Now, with her next client, played by giallo veteran Franco Rossell, who appears to be something of a professional pervert, he spies on Cristina as she changes. First person POV, 5 points. And at the risk of contradicting my own rules, let's do V is for voyeur, 5 points. I usually reserve that for acts of sex, but I mean, he's spying on her while she's changing. Close enough. She comes back in, dressed, just so he can undress her. Okay. They kiss while standing. They kiss in the chair. Then he carries her off. Then she's standing. Blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, he gives her a bath. I guess that's his thing. Later, he pays her and promises to call her again in a few days. Cristina hands the money over to Oskar, then promptly demands her half. He pays her before trying to get frisky. She puts him in his place, reminding him that that is not part of their arrangement, and when he threatens to give her a slap, she informs him that he will be without his prized worker. He cheerfully declares that she is far smarter than the other girls he's had working for him. The client, Booby, calls up his friend, giallo veteran Carlo Gentili, to tell him all about the new escort he just had and suggests that he arranges a meetup with her as well. This is a first. J is for J&B, 5 points. It's a J&B lamp. The two talk business briefly before Booby gives Santino Cristina's number. Once off the phone, Booby hears a noise and goes to investigate it. He's attacked and his throat is cut by a straight razor. G is for gloves, 5 points. We cut to Oskar playing 5-pin billiards, and it seems that he's losing badly. His opponent points out that Oskar is distracted this time. He's caught feelings for his girl and hates to be cucked by her. This causes Oskar to lash out and a brawl ensues. Cut to Cristina being stopped by her father outside Paolo's apartment. He asks her to come back home, but she refuses. She calls him out for being selfish all these years. Extra points for Y is for yelling, for a hysterical woman yelling, 5 more points. He slaps her. Typical 1970s Italian misogyny, woman is slapped, 5 points. She storms inside, leaving him alone on the curb. The police commissioner discusses the details at the crime scene. 3 pairs of footprints were discovered. The victims, the cleaning ladies, and one which does not belong there. This third pair was discovered everywhere inside and is likely that of a woman. He asks Mancini what he thinks, and he confesses that he believes it to be as simple as robbery gone wrong. The commissioner is convinced that the suspect's name will be found inside the deceased's little black book of business contacts. Cristina's mother calls to tell her that her father came home in a terrible state. Cristina promises to visit sometime soon. Oskar calls to meet with Cristina. In person, he asks her if she left anything behind at the professor's house which could lead police to them. I'll count this as asking questions in an investigative capacity. Q is for questions, 5 points. She says no. Oskar shows her the news of her client's murder. He suggests that they lay low for a while until the police activity dies down some. Meanwhile, Paola and Franco have a tiff. He mocks her, insinuating that Cristina will generate more income than her. The phone rings. It's Santino requesting Cristina to come over tonight. Cristina parks and is approached by Franco. Extra points for G's for gloves, for black gloves, 5 more points. Franco harasses her. I don't understand how some fellas think intimidation is a turn-on. I don't know. Maybe it's a different era sort of thing. Paola watches this interaction from the window, and by the way, look at Cristina's parking job. Just boxed these people in. She really said, "Fuck your life!" Bing bang! Franco tells Cristina that she had a client call her and asks when he can call her, but Cristina is not having any of it. He threatens her with blackmail and promises to keep it their secret if she agrees to meet with him. Looks like Paola is finally getting fed up with the quality of the men she selects. We cut to Santino, also watching Cristina while she changes. After about a minute of this, he enters. He takes a moment to admire Cristina, then another moment to interrogate her about what she knows about the professor's murder. Typical 1970s Italian misogyny, woman is choked, 6 points. Santino drops the act. He commands Cristina to carry a statuette across the room, then invites her over so he can admire her feet and put heels on her. Then he has her walk across the room. I find it interesting how these past 2 clients are clearly portrayed as perverts with odd proclivities, but it honestly feels like the movie is kinda holding back, remaining in mostly modest territory. We have a brief scene outside where Paolo expresses disgust with Franco for trying to sleep with Cristina. She finally breaks up with him, but Franco,
he could give a fuck.
Cut to Santino alone later this evening, inspecting a jeweled brooch. We watch the killer ascend the stairs. U is for undercover, 5 points. The killer makes their way slowly to the door. Close up on a door handle, 5 points. Santino senses trouble, shuts his wall safe, and grabs a revolver. Extra points for Z is for zoom, for a zoom on a weapon, 5 more points. The lights are shut off. Santino hears a noise and stumbles in the dark. The windows burst open. Suddenly, a flashlight blinds him, and he fires the gun recklessly. More stumbling in the dark, and ultimately, another throat slash. Here's my favorite transition in the movie. The killer searches the darkness and eventually finds the brooch. Killer's identity is hidden due to the framing and editing, 2 points. We jump to this odd sequence in the park where we cut back and forth between two pairs of feet running. I don't know what is intended to be happening here, but I don't think this is supposed to be a foot chase. Cristina runs into her boyfriend, Marco. She tells him off, saying she's fed up with being protected by others. He tries to assuage her anxieties. At the next crime scene, the police find 3 different sets of fingerprints. The commissioner says that he doesn't like the idea of someone going around slashing people's throats, which is exactly what I would hope the guy with this exact job would say. Oskar demands to have answers from Cristina, believing there must be more to her stories, considering her past 2 clients have been murdered. Also because Oskar had told Cristina to lay low for a little bit, and she totally defied him. He changes his attitude when she shows him how much money Santino had paid her. He implies that Cristina could be the killer, and she turns the accusations right around on him. Slap. The moment passes. Oskar invites Cristina to take a sabbatical with him abroad, but in order to fund the trip, she will need to work a few jobs in the next couple days, which she is totally on board for. They kiss. Cristina is a great character, but she is an absolute dead fish. I've kissed girls like this, who act as if they have no motor control over their lips. Oskar steals second base. Apparently, the controls for her lips are in her breasts. We cut over to Cristina's mother and father. Her mother has an identical pair of yellow gardening gloves as worn by the killer. Odd clue? 5 points. Enrico says he can't sleep and has requested a month off from work, but he won't use that time to relax. He is stressing over Cristina. Cristina's mother, who, by the way, is never given a name in the credits, informs Enrico that Marco had found Cristina and relays to him that she's doing very well despite not visiting her parents like she said she would. She tells him essentially to take a chill pill. Everything will be all right. We watch as a man is driven around the city. Urban locales, 2 points. Italian locales, Rome, 3 points. This is a wealthy industrialist, which Oskar had mentioned would be the perfect client for Cristina. We spend way more time with him than is necessary, but the movie is desperate to meet that hour 27-minute runtime, and so we follow his car ride through the city, follow him in as he discusses business, and finally to him mentioning in roundabout terms about setting up a rendezvous with a call girl, and his assistant here, Sergio, knows just the perfect girl. We spend some time with the commissioner, who tries to find a clue in the newspapers. He asks Mancini about any connections that both victims had, then exclaims confusion over why the killer did not take the expensive brooch from the crime scene, implying money is not a motive. According to ChatGPT, the 3 million lira brooch in 1972 is adjusted to around 37,000 USD today, or to my friends across the pond speaking the Kings, that is nearly 28,000 pounds. The movie is trying to say, without spelling it out, that Oskar is likely not the killer, since he is motivated by greed. Extra points for Z is for zoom, for a zoom on eyes, 5 more points. We then follow the police commissioner and Oskar at the horse track. The movie does have a lot of padding, I've observed. A lot of fast forwarding on my part. Honestly, nothing happens here besides horse racing. Cristina's father, Enrico, finds Paola and asks her about his daughter, if she knows what sort of work Cristina is up to, if she's well, and if she could put some sense into Cristina and convince her to come home back to her parents. But Paola says that if he couldn't do it, then she will have little effect on the situation. He loses his cool, begs forgiveness for his behavior, and lastly asks Paola to pass on that if Cristina needs money, for her to simply just ask for it. We're with the engineer/industrialist once more business jargon. Then, once alone, he retires into the other room where Cristina is waiting for him. We cut to find a blonde who is sleeping with Oskar, while Cristina sleeps with her client. After all of that, there's a brief scene with Oskar and the woman. She curses him for not being interested in her for more than just a hookup. Cristina is paid, promised to hear back from the man, and departs. Oskar picks her up outside. She hops in and hands over the money, which is a check. Oskar laments needing to have someone to cash the check for him. As per usual, the killer shows up outside the engineer's house and creeps in. Blah, 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 slash, and dead. Through some cheeky editing, the commissioner is conveniently here already, so it seems. The engineer's assistant, Sergio, tells the commissioner that a call girl was the last person seen with his boss, and her name was Cristina. Sergio hands over her phone number. Cristina is now being interrogated. The commissioner lectures her, which she hates. He states plainly that he could have her arrested. He asks her to give up the name of her partner in crime, her pimp. He name drops Oskar. We cut to Cristina packing her things and refusing to tell Paola where she's going. Franco comes in. "Paola, I thought you were done with this rat bastard." He begins antagonizing Cristina about the recent murders and the female suspect whom the police refuse to name. Cristina names herself, stating that this is her reason for going out of town. She says the police let her go because she knew nothing and expresses that she will continue sex work elsewhere, since it is easy money. She mentions that she has a very wealthy client later tonight and even gives the address, which Franco writes down. What follows is a pretty ingenious series of scenes. Next, Cristina meets up with Marco and tells him that she's leaving town with a wealthy industrialist as his secretary, telling Marco to tell her parents that she is okay. She gives him the address of where she is to meet the man, asking if he knows where it is. All he knows is that it is on the other side of town. Next, she meets with Oskar and tells him the same story and address. He confesses that the Vice Squad took him in, and we see a flashback of Oskar being interrogated. Oskar brashly tells the commissioner that he may be a pimp, but he is no criminal and no murderer. Oskar tells Cristina that she's done well and didn't rat on him, and that he was caught by the friend who cashed the check. Cristina agrees to meet with Oskar after her rendezvous tonight and asks if he can drop her off at the address, but he brings her back to her car, stating he has his own engagements to see to. We drop in on Paola and Franco. Paola breaks up with Franco again, citing his poor morals, while also saying that Cristina is no longer her friend either. Franco says, "To hell with you, I've got a meeting in an hour," and leaves. Paola grabs something from the liquor cabinet. I don't know what that is. We see a montage of Marco on a public bus, Franco on a motorbike, Cristina leaving the address, and Oskar meeting her presumably later. She's hit the jackpot. They agree to meet up in a couple hours before they leave town for good and split up the money. We montage again to Marco on the bus, Franco on the bike, and Oskar at the billiard club. Cristina arrives at the apartment to grab her things. Paola observes her. Cristina returns back to her car with her stuff and drives off, as Paola follows behind her in a taxi. We follow the killer as they arrive outside the infamous address, and again, creep inside. They slowly ascend the stairs, push down the hallway, and go deeper into the abode. They enter the bedroom and find the occupant sleeping under the covers. They approach, razor in hand, and BAM! It's a trap set up by the police commissioner. They scuffle. The killer flees. The commissioner pursues. Foot chase, 5 points. Mancini is of no help. Gun drawn. Cut to Cristina the next day, grabbing a paper and reading about the aftermath of the police trap. We flash back to see the commissioner shooting the killer, who then tumbles down the stairs. Of course, in slow motion in order to pad out that running time with just a few more seconds. The killer is Cristina's father, Enrico. Hidden identity of the killer until the final moments, 5 points. S is for secrets, 5 points. No extra points for the killer having an impossible to predict motivation, because the movie actually frequently informs us of what his motivation is. O is for obsession. Extra points for the killer being obsessed, 10 points. And since I gave Enrico points earlier for being a reporter, let's also do extra points for R is for reporter for him being the killer, 5 more points. The killer dies accidentally by gunshot, 5 points. And the killer is killed by someone, 10 points. Cristina finds out the dreadful news, tosses the paper to the ground, and leaves for her new life abroad. Let's add up some final cliches. Extra points for T is for telephone, for the killer making a call. Well, he nearly did. He grabbed the phone, 5 more points. And that's A.A.A. Masseuse, good looking, offers her services. Okay, so this movie is not bad. It's very, very middle of the road. Like, it's competent, it's enjoyable, It moves fairly quickly, although, as I pointed out numerous times, there is a lot of padding. The movie honestly could have been about an hour and 20 minutes. We didn't really need the whole hour and 27 minutes. There's a lot of why are we at the racetrack? Seriously, why are we ever at the racetrack other than it just being interesting, sort of? It never moves the plot forward. There's a lot of meandering. I'll say that. The movie really does meander, although it's atmospheric, so it's not like it's totally slowing the pacing down, but the movie could really trim itself a little bit. Also, there's a lot of loose ends. There's a lot of things that are there for the purpose of confusing the audience or making the audience be suspicious of other people, which ultimately don't go anywhere. So, for example, Franco, the part at the end where Cristina goes and tells all the men who are the main red herrings that she's going to meet a client, and she gives them all the address, which is clearly a setup for the police sting operation. All the guys who could be the killer know where she's going, and one of them is going to show up. The fact that we're watching Marco on the bus, and then we're watching Franco on his bike, and he's saying that he has an engagement in an hour, and then Oskar saying he has an engagement as well in an hour, that's all just, are one of them going to be the killer? It really doesn't go anywhere. And then also, why is Paola following Cristina in the end? I thought what was going to happen is that Cristina was going to skip town with her friend Paola, and they were going to take the money and they were going to go abroad somewhere. I thought it was setting up that Paola was lying to Franco and that she really was going to leave, the two friends were going to leave together and they were going to screw over all the men, which would have been a cool ending, actually, if Cristina just totally screws Oskar. And as it is, we never see them meet up again, so it's kind of left up to us to decide whether she does meet up with him and split the money, or if she does skip town and screw him over. So I'll say this. The movie does meander, and it does pad out that running time. And I think they could have trimmed some of those scenes. We really don't ever need to go to the racetrack. I think we could have used that time to see what else happens. Also, there's a lot of scenes with Cristina's father and the mother, which I think is all there to set up that he clearly is the killer. Although Franco, we have a lot of scenes with Franco and Paola, which I think their scenes are only there to set Franco up as a red herring. He's such a scumbag that I think the movie is he's the quote unquote red herring. He's the diversion. The father is just given way too much obvious motivation. So when people say that the killer is very obvious, I don't think it's actually too obvious, because the movie does a good job of giving you other people who it could be. It does also give you Franco, but Franco, it seems, is what I call the type A red herring, the one that the movie is really trying to push on you. And then in terms of Oskar, they actually do a good job of clearing him from our suspicions without actually saying it. The fact that the brooch was never stolen implies that it probably wasn't Oskar, because he would have looted the house. Anyways, yeah, I'm getting off. Holy crap. But yeah, this is there's a lot to talk about in this movie in terms of spoilers, but I enjoy this movie. I think it's fine. It's, like I said, it's very serviceable. It's not bad by any means. It's just basic. It's just fairly basic, which is not a bad thing. Anyways, let's segue to the GialliTally cliches for this movie. Post-giallo viewing cliches. The reason for the killing. Mental illness, psychopathy, or obsession. 7 points. The reason for the investigation. Police investigator. 2 points. Bonus points. The style bonus. The movie has some of the stylistic tropes, but not enough. We have zooms here and there, and a few focus-racking transitions, and gratuitous use of slow motion during the horse racing scenes. We have some basic mirror shots, and the reveal at the end utilizes some stuttering. Out of a maximum of 25 points possible, I will give A.A.A. Masseuse 11 points for its style bonus. Soundtrack.
dici tutto.
Sounds of rolling pebbles.
Yes, 15 points. Bad effects. You know, the throat slashes are pretty weak. That type of special effect could be achieved in live theater, and for that, I will say it is a bad effect. 10 points. Final look, extra points. The Deadpool, tallying how many kills and deaths are featured in the film. I break it down as thus: 10 points per kill or death seen for the main Deadpool, plus any stylistic kill multipliers, which we didn't add just yet, plus the knife kill bonus. We have Booby, throat slit, 17 points. Santino, throat slit, 17 points. Fabretto, throat slit, 17 points. And Enrico, shot dead, 10 points. Red herrings for the total number of legitimate suspects in the film. 5 points per legit suspect are awarded. We have Enrico, Christina's nameless mother, Marco, Franco, and Oskar. 25 points for red herrings. Flashback sequences, 5 points each. We have 1 and 2. 10 points for flashbacks. Nudity, I award 5 points for ass, 7 for breasts, and 10 for genitalia. We have breasts. Breasts and ass. Breasts. Breasts and ass. Breasts and frontal. Breasts and ass. Breasts. Breasts and ass. Breasts and ass and breasts. 105 points for nudity. Ladies and gentlemen, for A.A.A. Masseuse Good Looking offers her services, I awarded the film an AZ score of 14 out of 26. With the bonus points for these, we have a modified score total of 105 points. And for the full GialliTally score, I award A.A.A. Masseuse Good Looking offers her services a GialliTally score of 514 points. Compared to Short Night of Glass Dolls in first with 969 points, What Have You Done to Solange in second with 933 points, and Delirium in third with 839 points, A.A.A. Masseuse is back in the 30s in position. I predicted around 550 to 600 points, and I was kind of being generous, and so this doesn't surprise me. I had a feeling it was going to be in the 500s somewhere. There weren't a lot of kills. The nudity honestly was not that bad, and there weren't that many cliches that, like, when I watched it, I was like, I can already tell before I even write the GialliTally that there's just not a lot of cliches in this movie. But like I say, these points do not mean a movie is better or worse. Please like this video, share it with your friends if they are horror fans or cinephiles, subscribe to The King in Giallo if you haven't yet, and if you have any questions, thoughts, curiosities, or concerns, leave those below in the comments section and I will get back to you. Give The King in Giallo a follow on Instagram and a like on Facebook. Subscribe to The King in Giallo Patreon to see early access to all of the YouTube videos, exclusive video series that can only be found there, and to generally support what I do. Next time on The King in Giallo will be the overview, review, and GialliTally for the 4th Giallo film directed by Sergio Martino. Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key, released in August 1972. Thank you very much for your continued support, and a special thank you to those who support me on Patreon. This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.
Mamma, è arrivata la massaggiatrice per la tua sciatica. Ho trovato l'annuncio sul giornale. Senta, lei dovrebbe venire per un mese 2 volte la settimana. Facciamo 10.000 a seduta? Va bene?